What's your background? What's your origin story coming into crypto?
I'm an entrepreneur by nature and I'm an engineer by nature. I like to solve problems. I like to see where is the opportunity that I can solve. I can do a startup, make some money. So Metapoly is actually DeFi 2.0, Metaverse and NFT combined together.
That's huge. That's a huge use case.
We can actually do a couple of IDOs launchpad and maybe listing on exchange.
Awesome.
That we are aiming that for February.
Yeah, I love launchpads and I love borrowing and lending. Honestly, I love these two. So if I stake, I get the 6-figure APY and access to these new projects on the launchpad.
So the product we have been developing, we're going to get it audited by end of the month because again, we are messing with people's money. We have to take it seriously, right? And we realized, right, this is actually $1 trillion opportunity that potentially everyone could get involved.
Like, this is all great. What's going on, cowboy? In this video, we've got a new crypto project called Metapoly, and we are going to be deep diving it with the founder, the CEO, the mind behind it all. His name is Victor Lee, and we're going to be putting him in the hot seat and grilling him up for some questions to find out whether or not this project is something worth our time and money investing in it. Will it yield us good returns? Is it a great project to take us to higher places than where we're at right now? Look, if you're like me, you do a lot of research on YouTube, and I'm just trying to find my best way put to my next Bitcoin while giving away a Bitcoin in 2022. That's right. On this channel, I'm trying to do something that no other crypto YouTuber has done. And I want to give away one whole Bitcoin to my community just because I appreciate you guys so much. I really loved just what you've given me in the last year. And so in this year, I tried so hard to get my one Bitcoin and I got that and so much more. And now I want to give one away. So the only thing you have to do is like, subscribe, and comment down below. And at the end of the next videos, I'm going to pick a random comment, literally just totally random. Honestly, between you and me, I only get like about 20 to 25 comments on a video. So your odds of winning are pretty good. Anyway, we're trying to get to our next Bitcoin here. And the best way to do that is to trade and buy into early, great projects that are willing to can change the future of crypto. One way to do that is to just go on YouTube. But these YouTubers, they have no idea what they're talking about sometimes. So that's why I want to get straight to the interview with the developers because they could share their passion and their wisdom and their insights. You get lizard brains like me out of the way, right? And even though I get compensated for this, you and I get the best source of information for any crypto project. And so we are talking about Metapoly, taking basically the metaverse and you're backing it up just like an Olympus DAO situation here. And you guys know I'm already into these Olympus DAOs, Hector DAO things. So this one was really interesting to me. So Victor Lee, welcome to the hot seat.
Thanks, Aaron. Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Excited to get into this. Before we even get into Metapoly, I want to know who you are, what's your background, what's your origin story coming into crypto?
Hey everyone, I'll keep it short and sweet, right? So not so much about myself, but just to tell with honesty, right? What is this about? My name is Victor. I'm product manager and also a crypto entrepreneur for the last 6-7 years. Why do I say that, right? It's because I've been building apps even from the early days, right? I've been hacking stuff, building stuff, in the tech world. Built my first app, camera sharing app, 2009, try to compete and fight against Instagram. Those were the early days. And then after that, of course, really deep dive into crypto in 2016 when I actually discovered the phrase blockchain, right? I actually discovered Ethereum first before Bitcoin because I'm an entrepreneur by nature and I'm an engineer by nature. I like to solve problems. I like to see where is the opportunity that I can solve. I can do a startup, make some money, just being a startup entrepreneur. So during that time, I actually discovered I wanted to solve something on the fintech world, right? Then in insurance specifically. Then after I discovered Ethereum, I was looking at transparency. How do you create insurance to be a platform? Discover blockchain, and I was like, wow, okay, shit, this technology is like fantastic. So deep down the rabbit hole and never look back since. So from there onwards, I've been doing crypto, just buying into some ICOs as well, and lost a lot of money on my own because being burned in the whole ICO market, did not manage to exit because there's no liquidity, and everyone just want to go in there to get to the moon, right? But along these years, learned a lot of lessons about how the crypto market works, and on top of that, being through the whole journey, right, I never left. So last year when DeFi started, then I really actually went into DeFi strongly, and I was actually started my current startup, which is called DAO Ventures as well. So DAO Ventures is actually a DeFi fund manager, right? We actually help to create strategies to invest in the different chain, and we have been doing that successfully, right? Of course, the token price is actually not doing so well, but we are figuring parts how to actually compensate to the community about this. But that brings us to Metapoly, right? Because we saw that Metaverse is the future, and we think that this opportunity is way much bigger than just being a DeFi. So Metapoly is actually DeFi 2.0, Metaverse and NFT combined together. And we realized, right, this is actually a $1 trillion opportunity that potentially, right, everyone could get involved and actually able to get something out of this. So a little bit
Awesome. So,
introduction about myself.
so basically, you're an entrepreneur who just discovered the blockchain and Ethereum, and you went down this rabbit hole, and you've ended up at this place where you are now looking at it, what you're calling a DeFi 2.0. Help me understand what Metopoly is, because you said it's taking metaverse, NFTs, and crypto, and you're mushing it together here. What is it? Give me like the snapshot of what are we looking at when we're talking about Metopoly.
I think I'll explain from like two-layer perspective. Just like normally how we actually explain to like investors or to the market, right? There's going to be like the snapshot of what it is about, and of course the problem. So the first thing is this, right? Metapoly is a combination of the two words, metaverse and monopoly, right? So metaverse is actually our virtual ecosystem whereby we could interact, and potentially, right, is an area that's going to be the tremendous growth for the next 50 years. Right, so it's actually a whole new blue ocean of metaverse, right? The metaverse, and the second one is actually monopoly. Why? Everybody who have played Monopoly before, right? It's just that you want to own the most piece of land. You want to be in there. You want to own the most piece of land. You want to be the banker and have the most houses. So basically, actually, I'm combining two concepts together. Imagine that we are actually BlackRock, which is the biggest fund in the world, but for metaverse, right? That is the protocol, but decentralized and owned by the DAO. If you think about it, right, in the Web 2 world, all these giants and internet technologies such as like Facebook, Amazon, all these financial companies, JP Morgan, the only one that makes the money is actually the top guys, right? Because they own the most equity and the most stake in these companies. They leverage our data, they leverage our users and our, just whatever we have in their ecosystem, and then, make the most money of that. But what we can flip it around with Web3, and that is what Web3 is supposed to solve, right? There's some ownership to your own identity, to your data. Same thing. Imagine those lands in the metaverse, right, are being owned by JP Morgan or owned by Facebook. What would happen to to the future of metaverse? It's no Web3, it's Web2. Because essentially that is what they do. They own everything, right? And they will squeeze every other single penny from you. But Web3 able to solve that, which is why Metapoly is aiming to disrupt and change and democratize that process so that the citizens could actually own and be part of the metaverse. I'm sure of it. If you look at the trajectory of how metaverse is growing, the giants, right, is going to come in and use all their money to buy up all the lands and build stuff on it. And then they'll say that, hey, it's for the citizens, right? But they're going to squeeze all the rents from everyone in the system. So the only way to do it is actually through democratization and fractionalization of the metaverse lands for the citizens. That's number one.
There's a lot I want to unpack before we even get to number two. Okay, so there is a ton. So let me just try to summarize it for us lizard brains out there. So you're saying that right now the current state of the metaverse, these institutional money is coming in, buying up all the land. And what's going to happen is the spirit of Web3, which is supposed to be a decentralized, owned by everybody concept, is actually going to still be Web 2, where it's owned by these massive conglomerates, these guys who have all the money, and they're going to take all the rent, they're going to take all the equity, and the money being made. I just heard about Samsung building a store in the metaverse. You know what I mean? It's like they must have bought a whole bunch of parcels or whatever. A little fish like me can't be buying into those metaverses, but you are proposing metaverse and monopoly put together, like a decentralized Web3 metaverse where the parcels are fractionalized and all the land is owned by the DAO. Is that about right? Does that summarize everything? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so now we've got that. Now help me out with point two.
Okay, so that is the first thing, right? Decentralized and fractionalized so that anybody could afford, right, and own something in this ecosystem, in this metaverse. Metapoly is not about selling land. We are not selling the land, right? We don't have a land. But what we are trying to do is to copy like two biggest model, right? As you were mentioning before the start of the video, which is the Olympus DAO model, which is the asset-backed currency, which is a reserve currency. And then we just applied it on metaverse. a lot of people are actually like, hey, what is the point of me owning another token? Because there are like plethora, gazillions of other tokens, which is true. We know it, right? There's a lot of tokens out there. But why is the Metapoly token, DEET token, is so valuable? Because it's backed by the assets of the metaverse. That is the crazy part about this token. Can you imagine in the real world if the bank decided that, hey, all the money that we're using, the US dollar, is actually saying that, hey, every US dollar that we minted and in circulation today are backed by a real asset,
That would be
by
amazing.
gold or backed by land. It's crazy, right? That's supposed to be the way.
1971. That's what it's supposed to be.
They're supposed to be. But the greedy bankers decided to say, hey, we want to create a better world. We want to be in control. We just remove from that. And then today, that is where the world is today. It's crazy. The rich become so rich. And then the people who are like struggling every day cannot afford to even buy a house.
So
that is what.
So we're talking a little bit higher level terms for us lizard brains cowboys out here. Olympus DAO is another DAO out there that you're using the reference here as an asset-backed currency. They have something called OHM, and that is backed by a currency that's in their treasury, in their reserves. That's why it gives it like a minimum price value, right? And so you're saying in the same way, you have got a treasury that is backing the metaverse parcels of land. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, and now how does one benefit from this? Like, I don't understand the fractionalizing of this parcel and how do I benefit from here? How do I make the money with Metapoly?
Okay. So in the treasury, it's the same as Olympus DAO. In the treasury, right, it consists of like multiple of different assets. Decentraland lands, it could be the sandbox land, it could be mana token, it could be sand token, it could be US dollar, it could be mixture of like own liquidity, everything, right? With those assets, then automatically the system will mint the DEET token, which is the Metapolis token, right? So every token that's minted in the circulation are backed by the treasury assets. That's number one. The fractionalization, there's two parts to it. The first part is actually all these lands in there, right? If you're holding the token, essentially you're actually controlling the DAO, you're controlling the treasury. That's what everyone is doing on the Curve Finance, or that is how DeFi works, right? If you're holding the governance token,
power,
then you own the DAO. Literally, the more you own the DAO, right? But everybody who are holding the token have a say, which is what governance do, right? Because you can vote, you can propose, you can ideate, you can suggest whether you like it or not on Twitter, on Discord, on voting system. That's why you own the DEET, rule the metaverse. That is the tagline for us. You own the DEET token, you're able to control what is happening to the DAO, and the DAO owns the most land, and the land, you become the biggest guy in the owning the part of the parcel, right? So that's number one. Number two, the fractionalization is this. I'm sure that a lot of projects, right, or every other new project or big project, because we have the asset-backed liquidity, which is the token, right, that is backed by that, and our community number of users, because it's fractionalization, then the new project will be like, hey, I have a piece of land like Samsung. I just want to sell to more users, right? Because I can spend the money to do marketing, or I can work with Metapoly to actually sell the land or the assets to Metapoly. So if you're holding DEET token, you're able to get access and whitelist to actually get all these assets, even in the earlier days, right? Or there are some maybe there are some landowners, right? Maybe in, the sandbox decided to say that, hey, I have a piece of land. I'm not sure what to do with it. I can build some properties, but there's no users. How do I get new users? Work with Metapoly. We have like thousands of followers on our social media. We have token holders, and all our tokens are actually asset backed. So it's valuable. So you just need to work with us. You can fractionalize your asset, and then our token holders will actually able to own some part of it, right? And then you have users. So for these asset owners, right? Hey, it's fine. It's great. Now I have new customers. I have new users who are actually able to own part of my asset. And then, they will actually own part of it, right? And then, the assets could be used. Then there's customers, right? That is supposed to be the right model.
Okay. You're going to have to slow it down for me, Victor. So Samsung comes in here, buys a parcel in the Metapoly metaverse, correct?
In the treasury, yes.
In the treasury. Okay. And so I'm assuming there's a metaverse that, someone can log in and walk around there then, right? Like land? Could they build like a building there?
No, actually Metapoly are not creating a land. We are using the treasury to buy the land from Sandbox and Decentraland.
Okay. So now they're okay. So there's popular metaverses out there already.
Yep.
And so the Samsung is coming to Metapoly and saying, here's my parcel at Sandbox,
yep.
right?
Yep.
and then they give it to you and they put it in the treasury,
Yep.
and then
And then our users would be able to use the D token to own those part of the treasury, that those part of the Samsung land that they are actually working with us.
how do you own that? I don't understand. Do you just owning part of the treasury in
Yes.
general, or just that specific thing, the treasury as a whole?
The treasury is one part of it. Another part is actually there's another component, right? It's a fractionalized component. I'm not sure
Right.
whether you have you heard like in the market right now. There's actually people owning fractionalized punk or fractionalized ape. You do not need to own the whole ape. You can actually own part of the ape.
I've heard of this.
Yes.
I'm not too clear on this.
Yep. You can
So
actually check it out. It's working.
I have no idea how that works, but let me just get to this part. So
Yep.
you're saying, okay, people are coming to Metopoly, and it's a big treasury, and people are bringing in their asset, their land asset. What are they getting in return when they bring it to your treasury?
There are two parts to this. Okay, let me rephrase. You can edit the video later, right? So the first part is this, right? The treasury is that anybody can sell and bond their liquidity, their mana token or their sand token or their USD or their any other liquidity, right? Just like Olympus.
Okay, any currency, got it.
The one that we want, right? Mana
Got
and
it.
sand and
Yeah.
some NFT lands, which is sandbox and NFTs as well. So we can do that. But once you take it, right, the treasury will issue that asset back token, which is the deed, right? So the community would able to say, hey, I want to buy this token because this token is actually valued, this reserve currency deed or this
Got it.
token is actually backed by the treasury. So the token is worth something. So that's the first part. But what happened is that when we have those mana and sand token, what the treasury or the protocol what would the treasury do with all this money in there? Because you
Right.
have sand and mana, what you want to do with it? I mean,
Yeah.
just putting there, the treasury and the DAO will take the sand and mana token. We'll go and buy real lands, metaverse land from Decentraland and Sandbox,
Oh, interesting.
which is what banks are supposed to do. When you
Yeah,
take the money
yeah.
in your bank, you can lend it out or you can buy stuff with it, right? You can make
Right.
more money with it. That's what DeFi 2.0 is supposed to do.
Right.
So you take the money, you go and reinvest. You need to reinvest into buying lands or metaverse. You become the biggest landowner on through Metapoly, right? That's number one. So that is clear, right? It's just being a financial institution, DeFi 2.0, where the asset actually owns the DAO, and the DAO is actually all this land. So we will become like a land bank, right, on
Got it.
Metaverse. So
Got
which is
it.
the BlackRock, right?
Yeah,
Second
absolutely.
part is The second part is actually to answer your question, which is like, hey, if I'm Samsung today were to look for Metapoly, the treasury does not buy from them because they are like bringing to us, let's say, a piece of land on Metaverse that developed by Samsung worth like $1 billion, right? Or let's say $1 million. They want to look for new customers to participate or buy stuff, asset in that Metaverse building. This is like a building, right? There's going to be a lot of shops and a lot of activities happening in there. They are not going to sell the whole building. Samsung could literally work with us, and our community holders holding the D token could just buy fractionalized mini shops in the buildings, right? And to do that, right now there's no platform to do it. So DAO Ventures could offer a platform for the D token holders to own mini shops in the building that the Samsung built. So what is the benefit for Samsung? Samsung will be able to get tenants or people to buy all these small little assets in their building immediately. That's number one. So they already get cash flow, right, from their businesses, from their building. Instead of like having a building and then they don't know what to do with it and they start to make rent, right? The second one is, then they'll be asking, why should I take D token? D token is back. It's treasury back. So D token have a value, right? It's a reserve currency. So that's the second part. And the third part is, with all these new D token holders and people who own mini shops, they already have customers because you have like thousands of people holding want to be part of the building, right? Be part of the asset. So for Samsung, right, it's a no-brainer. They will kill 3 birds with one move. They don't even need to spend marketing. We have users. Yeah.
So the 3 parts: 1, they get to sell fractionalized little mini shops in their building.
Yes.
2, they get the D token, which is backed, has real world, like asset backed currency. And 3, they have more customers, more people, more commerce in that building who's doing business, and they just they could probably make some kind of percentage, or there's more people into that, more traffic, more in there, so it's a more popular piece of land. So 3 things, 3 big components to why someone like Samsung or someone else would want to do something like with that with Metopoly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I'm getting a very clear picture now. Now, in Olympus DAO and these other DAOs, you're able to make some APY. Is that available with Metopoly?
Yes. Same model. That is the same model. So users come in, bond it, or they can buy the token and stake it, and then they get the APY. Based on the initial calculation, the APY goes to 6 figures.
The first time I heard that kind of 6-figure APY, I didn't believe it. Honestly, I thought it was a scam. I was telling the guy in my interview, I was like, "This sounds like a scam." But since then, I have made so much money with these DAOs and these APYs. I'm singing their song. I'm like, this is it. So if you're saying that you've got a new treasury, this new protocol that's doing something very new, very innovative, that no one else is taking actual land, fractionalizing this land and bringing it into it, I think I'm in. Like, honestly, like I've already done this with 2 other DAOs. I'm going to do it with Metopoly here.
Yeah.
So I want to pause this interview very fast because I talked to Victor and his team at Metopoly after this interview was recorded, and I got them to give away 2 whitelists to their project. So if this is something that is exciting you right now, check the links in the description below. Join the Discord. This is how you do it. You join the Discord, okay? And then you give them the secret cowboy phrase, and that phrase is giddy up, okay? You got to tell that to Ahmad and say, "Hey, Cowboy Aaron sent me giddy up," and that will enter you into a raffle for a drawing for the 2 whitelists. And so that is available to you guys. This is still part of my Bitcoin giveaway. You already know that being part of a whitelist, those IDOs can and will shoot up. Like, I've seen them 2 to 10 to 50x. I don't know how much this one will do, but no doubt if you believe in it, this is something that's available for you guys. I just want to thank the team at Metopoly, and let's keep on this interview. Let's keep this interview going. Have we covered everything with Metopoly? Have we kind of covered the scope of this thing?
Those are the explanation about how it works, right? But I want to go down to the reason why. That is the differences between us and the rest of the DAOs, as you're aware.
Yeah.
There is a reason why the Metopoly has some value, right? That it will succeed. Let me give you the reason why. The tangible results that we can see, right, the numbers, right, it's like, hey, high APY. Yeah, the rest of the DAO does the same thing, right? Yeah, 1 million APY. It doesn't matter, right? It's unsustainable because that the APY is too high and everyone is just going to withdraw and just sell it, right? So the selling pressure is going to be so high that the token will just dump, right? You have seen it. A lot of people are doing that. So that's number one. It's actually unsustainable, right? That's the biggest problem, despite the high APY. So that are the benefits. The second tangible benefit is that for those asset owners, right, as you mentioned, right, if I'm Samsung or if I own a big piece of land on Sandbox, like worth 10 million, there's no buyer for that 10 million. You need to get a hedge fund or like a bank or a rich guy to buy that piece of land from you. So you are holding a piece of land that looks good on paper because it's worth that much, but there's no buyer.
But there's no market for it. Yeah.
Yes, there's no liquidity for it. Just that is the same problem faced by those punks and apes owners. They are just holding it, but they are unable to cash out. They're like, "Hey, I'm rich." So what? You can't take that out. You can claim all you want, right? Because it's decentralized, but it's there, right? There's no buyer for that. Right? If it's the most rare, of course, if it's the floor price, then it's different, right? But anyway, if a guy who owns $10 million piece of asset next to Sandbox, they can't do anything, right? If they want to take profit, they only can hold it and say that, hey, I have $10 million. How Metopoly solve that is we have the fractionalization, right? So instead of selling 100% of the whole thing, now you can take shops, bits and parcels of the land, and you can sell it to Metopoly community. That is actually the tangible result, right? First, high APY, and actually helping the landowners to actually solve their problem of liquidity. So I'm solving the both side of the problem. But the intangible result is the reason why we will succeed. Give you an example. People in Hong Kong cannot afford to buy any house or any assets in their lifetime, despite working for the rest of their life, right? A lot of properties in a very hot and places in cities, I'm in Singapore now, it's the same thing. For you to afford to buy a condominium like few $1 million, right? Like $10 million. Even if you take a bank loan, you will die. And of course, as we know in the real world now, nobody are able to get like this kind of loan unless you are rich or even like the upper middle class. Millennials and a lot of people who are just graduating looking for jobs. I mean, I don't think anybody is thinking about like owning a piece of house, right, in the premium area unless they're rich. So how do we solve the problem in Metapoly? The intangible result, which is if I'm able to own a DEED token, I'm able to own any assets in Sandbox or Decentraland. And those assets could be even in the premium tier. Why? Because the owner might want to fractionalize it, right? As I mentioned, that you can use the DEED token to own it. So you already have the pride that I'm able to own something in my lifetime, right? I personally myself, I cannot even own those kind of properties, right? I'm like not Snoop Dogg, I'm not VC, right? I'm just an entrepreneur. So having that, I'm really feeling proud of myself that I'm able to own something. And the second one is because the community relies on like, hey, we wanted to make sure that we cannot let the control goes back to the Web 2, right? We wanted to be part of this movement. It's the same as any other movement in the world right now, like, hey, Black Lives Matters, any other movements, right? Like, Occupy Metaverse, right? Those are our tagline right now. Because we need to able to actually fractionalize and democratize this so that there's a chance for the future for my children to own something in the Metaverse. That is why the feeling of belonging and pride, right, are the real reasons that we have a chance to win in this market. It's not so much about API. API is important, fractionalizing is important, but it's the feeling. Why do you want to sell your token so fast? Because the token have a value. You have pride of owning properties and you feel belonging to part of the community. That is what stand out between us versus all the folks. Because all the folks, right, you can have something, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, so I really resonate with that. I mean, just as we're kind of talking bigger picture, way bigger picture here, right? And to me, being an American, one of the biggest things is like right to property, right to ownership, right? And so you're saying that intrinsically you have this drive to, it's very difficult for people in Singapore and Hong Kong to own anything, to own land, to own something called that this is mine. But you're creating something so that, hey, even in the most expensive metaverses, anyone can own a piece of it and call it their own. And for myself, this is why I see Bitcoin, honestly, is like, I'm like, I own this piece of Bitcoin or this one Bitcoin and no one can take it from me. And I could give it to my children and their children's children. And so you're saying, hey, with these metaverses are all exploding, this is the future of where the world is going, and just going on the metaverse. These metaverses like Decentraland and Sandbox are just blowing up and just being so expensive that now little fish like me and anyone else who's watching can own like a piece of that. And you're saying that's the heart of this whole project.
Yes. But yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's the thing about it, right? Somebody asked me before, oh, you take the token, right? Yeah, you can sell, you can make 100x. Yeah, sure. But where do you want to go? You want to take the sell the token, you go back to like, maybe Ethereum and wait for the Ethereum to rise again. Just hold on to this, right? You can actually buy more of the most expensive land or the most expensive piece of building in the future. And that is why that DEED, right, needs to work, which is the asset back. Because it's asset back. And remember when I mentioned that, right? The asset back, you take the mana token, you take the sand token. What are we going to do with it? We're going to buy land. So literally, we are using the money in the treasury to buy land in the real metaverse, and the land will continue to increase in price. So our treasury will keep on increasing in price. Your token is going to increase in price as well. Of course, I cannot stop some people who are like, hey, I make so much money, I want to take profit, I want to sell profit. I can't stop that, right? It's just how economy is supposed to work, right? Mm-hmm. But the intrinsic value of the token, right, is there. It's like the thing is Bitcoin. Why would people want to own Bitcoin? Because it's to hedge against the inflation. Maybe we can retire someday, and this is something that I can own, that I know that I can be part of the system, right? Out of the system. That you want to give it to your children. That is the reason why people hold that Bitcoin. It's not so much for trading, right? Because like, hey, the gas fees and stuff is going to be very hard to do. But that Bitcoin means something. Same thing. Indeed, the DEED is the reserve currency for metaverse, and people could own properties or own assets in the future, and they can, democratize themselves from like the system.
Awesome. I got a couple other questions for you that are going to be very hard. What's your teams look like? How big is your team, and what's the experience of your team? Give me a little confidence here.
As I mentioned, right, DAO Ventures, we actually have built a lot of successful smart contract. All our smart contract are audited, by like Zocure, Ceratic, Hacken, Immunify. All our smart contracts are actually clean build, right? And we actually have building this for the last 1 year. So we have more than 12 developers in our team, 12 technical role, right? Product managers, full stack developer, Solidity developer, CTO, product managers, and then DeFi developers, right? People who actually understand about the DeFi market as well. So we have the team of 12 for that. So, and all of us are not newbies, right? We've been building for more than a year on DAO Ventures, and all the strategies are profitable, right? And it's clean.
Great to hear.
Yeah, the second one is actually on the community side. I think this is the part whereby we actually screwed it up at the DAO Ventures because we have been focusing so much on the tech side. We've forgotten more on the marketing. As we know, right, token is all driven by the demand and the sentiment and the price. This is the part whereby we do not want to repeat it. We want to make sure that we spend a lot on marketing, a lot of liquidity, a lot of listings, a lot of distribution of token. That is why we're going to do multiple IDOs, and we're going to do multiple IDOs. Why? Not one. We don't care about the IDO money. We care more about reaching to 10,000 token holders in 3 months. That is our goal. Because the more marketing you do, the more token you do, then it's decentralized, right? Then it's not manipulated by one single whale, right? Because the more people own it, the higher chance that this thing will decentralize. And it fulfills a certain requirement, right, for the marketing as well, so that you can actually able to list to centralized exchanges. You can go to CoinGecko, you can go to CoinMarketCap easily because there's more distribution. The price is more distributed, right? So these are the tech team and the marketing and the community team that we have. In total combination, we have more than 27% in our team. 27. So we are not a new team, right? We are a strong team.
Good.
And I think
Good.
one last part I want to add in, right? My face. A lot of
Beautiful face.
I mean, it's not about that appearance, but doxing. My point is, I'm doxing myself, right, to bring trust and credibility. You've seen a lot of folks, everyone claim everything, but you cannot find a team. Dude, man, I'm here, man.
Yeah.
So what is there to lie, right? I'm still figuring out how to help more DAO Ventures community and how to grow, but I'm bringing trust and credibility, right, to the project. So I really believe that is very important to bring trust and people could trust you, right? So, yeah.
Got it. What are the any whales in there? I know it's not out yet, but like how's the token split up and who are the biggest whales here? How much are they planning to
We
help?
actually have those articles out in the post, but right now, right, mainly even at the seed funding round that we are doing right now, all of our seed funding are actually people who can add value and our own level, meaning that there are certain people that I know that can able to help, right? For example, right, KOLs, a lot of people with community, KOLs, market makers, funds, people who are actually angel investors who can actually introduce us to different exchanges, to different IDO. Those are the guys that actually invest into seed funding. It's small ticket size like 20 to 50,000 around there per angel investors.
Okay. Along that line, who are your partnerships, investors, angel investors, partnerships? What do you got here on that end?
I'll inform those who are already confirmed, right? For example, we actually have worked with Crypto Differ in like Russia, Europe. Then we actually have like a couple of influencers from India called Spike Fast and Gemflare. And then we have like Shinchan Group, which is actually based in Southeast Asia. All these small little Telegram community groups, right? We have, right, a lot. And then a couple of Discord members who are actually angels who invested, all of them. And then we are starting to talk to some VCs, but we have not closed anybody yet. And then some other influencers, right, from KOLs and from YouTubes are actually in the middle of investing as well. I don't want to name names who those who are not who are coming yet, right? But we have a couple of strong YouTube influencers, right, who are actually very big, and then they are thinking to invest as well. So anyway, I mean, of course, they will disclose it, but my point is, I want to get as most exposure as possible, right, through these investments.
So you were talking about exposure. How do I get exposure, right? I already said I'm in. Let me get a whitelist. How do I get some whitelist for the Cowboys? How do I get some giveaways? What can you give away? Give us a little bit of something. Like what's the call to action here?
Right now, I mean, you can join our Discord, go to our Twitter, follow us. Right, there's some competition going on to get the whitelist for the IDEO initial Discord offering. But of course, that being said, right, we also want to give out more access, right, as I mentioned, to the IDEO to different groups, so that for example, Aaron, your group, the Cowboys, right, who actually have a groups, a lot of people, feel free to visit us and join us, and then we can actually have a separate discussion just to say, hey, this is exclusive, right, just for the the viewers of
Fantastic.
Cowboys, right. There's going to be a link. Yeah, we want to do that. Because the
Awesome.
more people, the more successful we are.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Is that everything that we've talked about? Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that needs to be talked about, highlighted for Metopoly here?
I'll give maybe two more things just to wrap up the chat. The first one is actually the traction we have so far, and of course what our milestone is, and the second one, right, is that actually what some of the immediate things that the community or the viewers could see. The first part is actually the traction, right? So we actually just started to do that whitelist for to Trader and Discord. I think 1 month ago, just before I think mid of December, 3 weeks ago actually, and we already reached more than like 4,000 users right now on Twitter and Twitter and Discord, 4,000 users and Telegram as well. We just started, right?
Wow.
And actually, not much marketing. This is like the second or third video we are just interviewing. We didn't do even much yet, right? So we just started. The second part is actually more. This is the traction so far, and in terms of the development, right? I mean, again, I'm not just talking about real because we are real builders. So the product we have been developing, we are going to get it audited by end of the month because again, we are messing with people's money. We have to take it seriously, right? It's not like, hey, let's launch first, right? No, we're going to get it audited. So that everyone will be safe and have peace of mind that whatever we are doing, right, there's audited report. So that's just the part where we are doing. I think by next month, February, I think mid of February, most probably we'll have sufficient enough users. We can actually do a couple of IDEOs launchpad and maybe listing on exchange.
Awesome.
That is, we are aiming that for February. So yeah, so this is the plan and the milestone that we have, the traction and the product and the listing plans IDEO and listing on exchange next month. In terms of like the further roadmap, right, I want to mention, touch briefly on the utility of the Metapolis token, DEED token, the utility. We realize, right, a lot of problem with all these, on Fox, right, is because there's not enough utility. Because people are just buying for the APY, right? So, the token price will be severely impacted. So how do we do it? We're going to add in a launchpad for Metaverse. So in the future, anybody who have a new project with a GameFi, with a land Metaverse project, feel free to approach us. We have community members, we have launchpad, we have a token back asset, right? The token is asset back, right? So launchpad, right? So people who are actually staking the token in the Metapoly, they're able to get access, right? Whitelist exclusive access. So that is the
awesome.
reason why the token has
awesome.
value. Yeah. Second, we have borrowing lending. So imagine that you're holding a token, right? What can you do with it? I mean, the normal OM and stuff, you can't do much, right? But we actually have borrowing lending. That is where the DeFi experience comes in. You take a token, you deposit it, and you can borrow stablecoin with your token. So why are you rushed to sell? You put in there, you can borrow money, and then you can do more investment. You can even take the money that you borrow to buy more token. It's up to you, right? So we provide the borrowing lending. So you have a use case. Now you have like a bank, right? Take the token, deposit, you can borrow more money, right?
That's huge. That's huge use case.
Yeah.
I love launchpads and I love borrowing and lending. Honestly, I love these two.
and you combine together, and then the token have a more use case. And the third part is fractionalization.
So if I stake, I get the 6-figure APY and access to whitelist or access to these new projects on the launchpad.
Yes, and borrowing lending.
And that's amazing. This is great. Like this is all great.
Yeah. Okay. And then after that, the fractionalization, remember we'll talk about it. So if Samsung will come to us, I mean, not immediately, all of these are roadmap.
Yeah, right.
Plan. But we launch it, then the Samsung can come in here, they can take the DEED token, and then you can actually buy the piece of the land. So what is the rush for people to go and buy and sell and flip, right?
How long are we talking about in these projects? How far out? A year?
So the launch pad will be in this quarter, quarter one. The borrowing lending most probably in like quarter two, at latest quarter two, because we already built halfway, right? I think quarter two will launch. At fractionalization, most probably will be quarter three. Right? So yeah.
This is great. This is all great and it's faster. Okay, I'm about this. I'm about this.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
guys, if you're watching this far into this video, there's been a lot of ground that we've covered. We went 50,000 feet in the air with like property rights, and we went all the way down in the ground because I did not understand it. I'm a little lizard brain, but hopefully you could watch through this. You understand Metopoly and understand that I'm pretty excited about this project. Okay, I'm not joking. This is everything. My whole strategy, everything come together in one project here. But you have to do your own research. Don't believe me. Don't believe this lizard brain. Do your own research. Make your own calls. Join the community. All the links are down in the description down below. Be sure to comment. Remember to make sure that try to win that one Bitcoin or part of that one Bitcoin. Anyway, Victor, thank you so much for being part of this hot seat interview. I was thoroughly pleased with this interview. I mean, I'm very excited about Metopoly, and we're going to talk about how we could get some whitelists and some giveaways for the Cowboys. Anyway, guys, if you're watching, thanks for watching. Lizard Brains, Gorilla Arms, Diamond Hands, Cowboys, always ride together, and we'll see you in the next video. See you guys.
Cheers.